The Week 9 preview episode of the Bears Talk Underground is brought to you by MyBookie. Was there ever any wonder? Guys, the NFL season is heating up, and if there is one bet that you want to make it with MyBookie. They've been in business for years. They have great online reviews, and their mobile site is so easy to use, and that's why I'm urging you to make your way over to MyBookie. Why? Because you win, they pay. What's more important than that? They have in-game live betting, over-unders on fantasy points, and the most rewarding player perks in the business. And then, the deal that we've been talking about for weeks could be running out anytime in the near future here. You make your deposit after 7 p.m. Eastern, you get an extra $25 in free play in deposits over $100. And MyBookie will also match your deposit dollar for dollar when you use the promo code BEARS25. So visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie. And don't forget to use my promo code BEARS25 when creating your account to claim up to $1,000 in free play. So make the deposit after 7 p.m. Eastern. You get that extra $25 to use as well. So it's up to you. But MyBookie is the best bet you'll make all season. You play, you win, you get paid with MyBookie. This week on the Bears Talk Underground, after finally getting their first win after the bye, the Bears look to keep the momentum going when they pull up stakes and go back out on the road where they have not played their best football to meet head-on with the Buffalo Bills and close the book on a 4-game stretch against the AFC East. Will the Bears take care of business, or will they get caught looking ahead? Sean Murphy from SB Nation's Buffalo Rumblins joins us on the Week 9 preview episode of the Bears Talk Underground. In a 17-game season, week number 9 is your official mid-season mark of the NFL, and it is the mid-mark for our beloved Chicago Bears. It will be their 8th game of the season in week number 9. What's going on, everybody? Larry D back for the Week 9 review episode of the Bears Talk Underground, and a little bit later on, we're going to have Sean Murphy from Buffalo Rumblings on SB Nation on to help us talk through this Bears-Bills game and what's been going on in Buffalo, and we harken back on the conversation we had during the summer and where he thought the team was headed at the time, and it wasn't the most positive outlook on what the year could become, and it turned out to be dead right. You hear him say that he caught a lot of flack for his assessment of where the Bills could be headed, at least in 2018. And it turns out the guy had a crystal ball in his back pocket because he was dead on about how the Bills were going to turn out this year. So lots to talk about there. Had a good conversation with Sean last night. Truthfully, it's looking good for the Bears. Let's just put it that way. After what I saw on Monday against the Patriots, I mean, the defense is tough, man, but it's very simple. You'll hear me talk about it in the segment after the interview that it's going to be, I don't want to say easy, but the formula to win the game is easy. We shut down the running game. We put the ball in the quarterback's hands. In this case, it looks like it's going to be Nathan Peterman. And Nathan Peterman is a specialist. He specializes in throwing the football to the other team. So that harkens well for the Bears this coming Sunday, who could get out in front easily on the Bills. And what's really great about that is that the Bills are horrendous on offense. We talk about it a lot between myself and Sean. They're averaging 11 points a game throughout the first eight games of the season. Their highest point total was that victory over Minnesota at 27 points, and they haven't gotten anywhere near 27 since then. They had 20 points week 2 against the Chargers, then 27 in that victory over Minnesota, 27-6 being the final score there, and the highest point total I think they've been able to generate since then was maybe 17 points. I mean, even in their only other victory of the season, they won 13-12. So scoring points, not exactly a specialty of this offense. So, It's very much like last season with the Bears was points were few and far between. They have a good defense that can keep them in it, but the offense is 3 and out so often, the defense eventually breaks down. That's what happened Monday night against the Patriots. It was a 9-6, 12-6 game going into the fourth quarter. They finally generated that one drive, making it 18-6. And, you hear me tell Sean, and it's very much similar to something that, that would happen to the Bears. A 2-score lead might as well have been 200 points because that's how difficult it was going to be for the offense to come back and even up that score. So when I told Sean when the Patriots went up 18-6, it might as well have been 180-6 for all the good it would have done the offense for the Bills. It was basically over after that, and then they added a pick six. The Patriots did to make it 25-6, and that was the final on Monday night. So if the Bears can generate some turnovers, maybe have the defense score some points again for the first time in a bit, if we can get out in front early, like if we're up 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, you can pretty much pack it in and cruise from there as long as we avoid mistakes of our own. So as long as Mitch doesn't throw any interceptions, as long as we don't allow Buffalo to have any hope, it's going to be a good afternoon for us on Sunday. We're going to be 5-3 at the break, matching our win total from a year ago at the halfway mark. Be an amazing accomplishment for this football team heading into the second half and heading into this all-critical 3-game stretch where we go Detroit, Minnesota, Detroit inside of 11 days starting next Sunday on the 11th. So, we go the 11th with Detroit, the 18th with Minnesota, then boom, the 22nd on Thanksgiving Day against the Lions again. So we're going to be hearing from Jeremy Reisman a lot starting next week, and he's going to be a guest on the show twice inside of 10 days. It's pretty crazy how that's all going to go down. But before we get to our talk with Sean, got a few news and notes here. For those of you who follow me on Facebook or on the group page on Facebook, just search Bears Talk Underground on Facebook and join the group. You can also find me on Twitter at BTU_Larry on Twitter. And actually, I rebirthed the Instagram account. It's basically just where I put those 1-minute audio cards that come out every week. And also BTU_Larry on Instagram as well. I don't think I posted them on Instagram, though. Anyway, the Bears Talk Underground stickers. I have a batch of them. I got got a really nice price on them, too, actually. 50 of the stickers for the Bears Talk Underground, and I'm still thinking of ways that I'm going to give them away. Still trying to figure out a way for you guys to earn them if you would like to get your hands on one or two. They're little ones. They're smaller ones. They're 2x2, so about the size of a button, maybe actually even a little bit smaller. Actually, I was kind of disappointed when I saw how small they were. But they're really cool looking. The logo, obviously, I designed myself. We got Buck the bear walking across a big BTU logo there, and the Armchair Network logo underneath that. So that's the first batch, and I'm thinking about making some more, making some bigger ones, maybe some ones that kind of have the show banner. Like if you go on iTunes or whatever, you see the thumbnail of the show logo, maybe getting one of those made and things like that. So possibilities are endless with this kind of thing, but that's the first batch, and I'm still trying to devise my evil plan on how I'm going to make you monkeys dance for these stickers, and I'll let you know what I come up with in short order. But those stickers are out there. They are real, and I'm looking to give them away. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. In football news with our beloved Chicago Bears, this past Tuesday, the trade deadline came and went, and the Bears stayed silent. No moves for the Bears. As a matter of fact, we kind of sat around and watched our opponents in the division. The Bears and the Vikings were quiet. The Packers and the Lions, on the other hand, made some interesting moves and more of looking ahead, I would say, because they traded away. Clinton Dix is no longer with the Packers. He is now in Washington for draft choices. I think just the 5th round pick for him. And there was another one. Oh, yeah, Ty Montgomery, the running back who decided it was a good idea to run it out of the end zone and fumble the football against the Rams on Sunday, therefore eliminating any possibility that Aaron Rodgers had of trying to win that game against the Rams on Sunday. In a tight 29-27 ball game, Ty Montgomery takes the kickoff out of the end zone where he could have just kneeled on it and started at the 25-yard line, put the ball in one of the greatest of all time, put it in his hands, but nah, I'm going to run it out. I'm going to do something here, and he ended up fumbling the ball, gave it right back to the Rams, and that was it. Aaron Rodgers never touched the ball again, and the Packers lose, and it helped to put the Bears back in first place this past weekend. They got the Patriots this weekend too, so the Bears could be up 2 games on the Packers by Sunday night when the Sunday night game is over with. But Montgomery was sent off to Baltimore for a 7th-round pick. So 2 guys that gave the Bears fits will not be on the team come Week 15 when they reunite in Soldier Field towards the end of the year. The Lions decided it would be a good idea to trade Golden Tate, sent him off to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 3rd-round pick, I believe. So decent return on the investment. This is a guy who is going to be hitting the open market. I think Golden Tate was going to be a free agent at the end of this season, and they got a little something for him, sent him off to the Eagles, who could use the help at wide receiver as they are currently sitting at 500, trying to regain their momentum as world champions right now. Not looking much like it these days, but having Golden Tate on the squad opposite Alshon Jeffrey will definitely help them. So the Bears and the Vikings kind of sat back and watched the Lions and the Packers kind of subtract from what they had, and it was like by doing nothing, the Bears and the Vikings got better this week because our teams are still at full strength, while theirs, on the other hand, they got rid of some key players on theirs. So we'll see how it affects the Packers and the Lions going forward. But, I got to say, those 3 guys were key contributors to those teams, and they were sent off. Montgomery, I get, because there was a lot of animosity after he blew that play on Sunday, after he made that decision, then fumbled the ball on top of it. Apparently he wasn't happy with his role in the offense or something like that, and decided he was going to take it upon himself to do something, and backfired in the worst way possible. Clinton Dix, on the other hand, I'm not sure what happened there. So I don't know why that trade happened. It did. Golden Tate, the only thing I could see is that the Lions trying to get something, a return on somebody that they might lose for nothing during free agency this upcoming offseason. So we'll have to sit back and see how it affects the Lions and the Packers going forward. But, from up here in the cheap seats and the bleachers, watching it happen from a distance, the Bears and the Vikings became better teams during this trade deadline, and the Packers and the Lions, got worse because they subtracted from their teams. So, but speaking of the trade deadline, as I said, the Bears remain quiet, but they weren't not busy during the trade deadline. Leonard Floyd, who I talked about last week, if the Bears got some calls about him, they should take those calls, and they did. He did draw interest. There were no rumors about what teams were calling, but there were interest in the services of young Leonard, but hence no deals made. Leonard Floyd stays put, still with our beloved Chicago Bears. And, I would still put, if you're going to my bookie and there's a prop bet on whether or not the Bears pick up Leonard Floyd's 5th-year option, I'd bet on no. Put heavy money on that. They're not picking up his 5th year. He's going to be in his contract year next year in 2019, trying to find a way to stick around on this team next season. And then in injury news, the word is back on Kyle Long. Nothing specific on what the actual foot injury is, because they're just calling it a foot injury. They're not saying it's going to require surgery or anything like that, but it will knock him out of the game for 6 to 8 weeks. And there also has been some talk about possibly putting him on injured reserve, which makes sense because on the short side, 6 weeks puts us at week 14, week 15, and 8 weeks is essentially the rest of the year. Including this week, he would be coming back week 16 if he were to come back. So it does make sense that there's some talk of putting him on injured reserve. I don't know if they're talking about putting him on shut him down for the rest of the year injured reserve, or that he has a chance to return injured reserve. So, but there is some talk about putting him on that I guess for the roster spot, because he's still on the roster at the moment, but even though he's injured. So that may be the strategy, as far as maybe we put him on injured reserve to save to open the roster spot, bring somebody in for the depth, or will he be on the team and not playing, for the next 6 to 8 weeks? So that's the conversation right now. So obviously, as we look at the Bears injury report, Kyle Long isn't practicing, so he's been out of practice the last 2 days. Ben Broniker left the game on Sunday with in concussion protocol. He has yet to practice yet this week. Taylor Gabriel gave everybody a nice scare by showing up on the injury report Wednesday with a knee injury. He was limited on Wednesday but was full participation today, so I think we're okay there. Eric Kush, who's definitely somebody that we need going into this game against Buffalo, limited this week, whereas I don't think he practiced at all last week against getting ready for the Jets. Has been limited so far in the first 2 days this week. Khalil Mack, Allen Robinson, with ankle and knee injuries respectively, have yet to practice this week, basically on the same schedule they've been on the last 2 weeks. And spoiler alert, we did talk about the weather for really briefly. You'll have blink and you'll miss it, but when we talked to Sean Murphy about it, he did mention it might be raining on Sunday, which was ultimately the deciding factor in why Mack and Robinson didn't play against the Jets. Could it factor into either of those guys not playing on Sunday? And you know what? It's not worth it. We should, knock on wood, murder this football team on Sunday. We should do it relatively easy, and I hate talking about it in those terms, because those are the ones where you come back on Monday and be like, what the? I don't know. I don't know. The Bills scored 48 points somehow, and we lost the game by 30. So, but in reality, this should be a relatively easy game for the Bears. The Bills have a good defense, so I'm not saying they're going to score 50. I'm just saying that offensively the Bills are horrendous, so we shouldn't have any problems keeping them off the scoreboard, and it won't take much for us to win the game on Sunday. That's what I mean by relatively easy. I don't think we're going to come out like the Buccaneers and light them up for 50 in the first half or anything like that. I just think that 17 points would be about 14 points more than we're going to need to win this game on Sunday. But that's just me. So Robinson and Mack probably going to be game time decisions coming up on Sunday, and whether or not the rain will affect it. I mean, they play on the field turf in Buffalo, so we'll see what kind of factor that has in whether or not they play on Sunday. And then here's one I didn't want to see. Bilal Nichols, limited on Wednesday with a knee injury, did not practice today. Don't know what that is about. This is actually the first time I'm seeing it, so we'll have to dig into that and find out what's going on with him. As the Bills have a decent running game. Granted, their running backs a little long in the tooth. Ivory and LaShawn McCoy both over 30. But if you shut down the run, you've shut down the Bills, plain and simple. Kind of like the Bears a year ago at this time. You got to dare those quarterbacks to throw the football, and to do that, you got to stop them from being able to run it. Speaking of the Bills, Lorenzo Alexander, their inside linebacker, limited today it was just a Veterans Day yesterday with rest. Josh Allen, Derek Anderson, their two quarterbacks, a right elbow for Allen and a concussion for Derek Anderson. Neither has practiced. Neither are expected to play on Sunday against the Bears. Tremaine Edmonds, who was famously talked about possibly being a Chicago Bear during the draft process, was taken 16th overall by the Bills in the first round. They had 2 first-round picks, both of which are on their injury list right now. Suffered a concussion against the Patriots, has not practiced yet this week, so I don't know how his chances of playing against the Bears are looking at the moment. Defensive end Trent Murphy has been out both days this week with a knee injury. And Kyle Williams, their stud, the guy's like 150 years old, but he plays like a machine, was resting on Wednesday, limited today on Thursday, so he and Alexander will definitely play on Sunday against the Bears. So So there you have it, man. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to get to this talk with Sean Murphy about the Bills and what a confusing what a confusing team this has been. This is a team that's a year removed from a playoff appearance. Making it 9-7 or 10-6, one of the two last year, getting into the playoffs, making an early exit, but nonetheless, this is a playoff team from a year ago playing nothing like a team that saw the postseason. Got to play some January football last year. Doesn't look anything like that. And as a matter of fact, one of the furthest things from it, when those power rankings come out and you have a 3 in front of the number that you're on, that's bad. That is bad. So that is the conversation that the Bills are generating these days when it comes to the state of their football team. So speaking of the state of the team, we talk about that quite a bit, what the future and what the present and future hold for the Buffalo Bills as we go forward to the second half of this year. And, looking forward to 2019 and everything. And there is a rare hope. You hear Sean talk about it. They got big salary cap coming up in the offseason and so on. So without further ado, I'll stop going ahead and just spoiling the entire interview here. Myself and Sean Murphy from Buffalo Rumblings and SB Nation talking about the Bears and Bills for week number 9. Week number 9 of the 2018 schedule has the Bears traveling out to Buffalo. The Bears not exactly road warriors this year, 1-2 on the road thus far, taking on the Buffalo Bills and completing this 4-game stretch against the AFC East. They're sitting at 2-6 right now. They've had some tough losses this year and also some interesting wins. And to help us preview this game between the Bears and the Bills on Sunday, from Buffalo Rumblings on SB Nation, Sean Murphy. Sean, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, Larry. Good to talk to you again. Thanks for having me back.
So let's talk about this team, Sean. Just looking at your wins and losses on the schedule so far, I would have to say that offense is not a strong suit for this team because you've scored 20 points only twice all year long. Once in a loss to the Chargers week 2, and then the other time was the what the hell happened there victory over the Vikings week number 3. I mean, even in your only other victory this season, you scored a whopping 13 points over the against the Tennessee Titans in that 13-12 victory about 3-4 weeks ago. So what's going on with the Bills, man? You guys seem to be allergic to points. I mean, I was watching the game on Monday against the Patriots. It just seemed like so many times you guys, just when you thought like the Bills were kind of getting into it, the bottom would drop out, and then the Patriots just took over, making it 800 in a row against you guys or whatever it is up to these days.
Yeah, no, that's been that's a really good way to put it, really, for the whole season. I mean, just to call the Bills offense a JV offense would be an insult to JV offenses all over the country. It's been really, really rough to watch. I mean, you could point at a mismanagement of the quarterback position. You could look at a poor offensive line. You could look at receivers that don't gain any separation at all. You could look at a running back group that is headed by 2 30-year-old guys. It's just been it's been a really rough go of it. I mean, really, as simple as it gets is that no one respects their passing game, as they shouldn't. So they stack the box, which means that their strength with LaShawn McCoy and Chris Ivory, they can't really get anything going on the ground. And then, as you saw on the Monday night game, when they are forced to throw the ball, Derek Anderson has been mistake prone. Obviously, Nathan Peterman is a walking mistake at the quarterback position. And then you've got Josh Allen, who was the rawest of raw first-round rookies, coming in, starting really an entire year before they probably would have liked to start him. So it's been difficult to watch on offense, to say the least.
Very reminiscent for me, at least from what you're describing. I mean, you're describing the Bears 2017 offense. We've got a raw rookie that probably should have been watching most of the year, if not the whole season, but circumstances forced him into the lineup, and unfortunately they were who did start the year at quarterback for you guys?
It was Peterman. Nathan
It was
Peterman was named
Peterman.
Yeah,
Wow.
he started 2 quarters at the Ravens, and I
That's,
believe he was something like 5 of 18 for 24 yards.
oh God.
And then he was benched at halftime, and that was all she wrote for him until Allen was injured against the Texans. Then Peterman came back out there. But with you guys, Trubisky looks a lot better this year. No?
Yeah. I mean, well, he's having his struggles. The best way to describe him a majority of the time, but he's also improved a bit on, he either is forcing it to someone who isn't open or missing someone who is wide open.
Okay.
That has been kind of the faults with Trubisky this year. The last few weeks, well, he was guilty of it against New England. But I mean, he is getting better with his tendencies to force it where it doesn't need to go.
Okay.
It didn't happen once against the Jets, thank God. But it's just, the more frustrating part is the missing the wide open receivers. We got one receiver in particular that he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with, it appears, at times, and that's our rookie receiver, Anthony Miller. That kid is always open, or at least he's always open when Trubisky is throwing him the football and he's sailing it over his head, or he's just missing it off target and things like that. But my question was going to be, well, I guess I could ask a different question. What the hell happened with A.J. McCarron? I mean, this was supposed to be a trade that was supposed to set you guys up for, here's the guy that's going to show Josh Allen the ropes, and then this is a guy, when you guys played us in this preseason finale, he was playing for his job in that game.
And he looked
played
pretty good.
Yeah, he played the entire game of the preseason finale. Like, wait a minute. Isn't he supposed to be the day one starter? What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, it from what I can gather anyway, because I mean, Sean McDermott is a very politically correct guy. He's never going to throw anyone under the bus. He will almost never say anything. His go-to line with us, and we kind of laugh about it, is that Buffalo could lose by 50, and they'll ask what happened, and he'll say, well, I have to go back and look at the tape and see how everything went. I mean, I could tell you how it went, Coach. We just got slaughtered. But with regard to McCarron, I think that they saw that he wasn't going to be the guy, and when they saw that he wasn't going to be the guy, I don't believe they were confident in his ability to mentor Allen. So when they found that they could get any sort of asset for him, which they did, they ended up shipping him out to Oakland for a 5th-round pick. They just took it without even considering the fact that they now had a quarterback room that had a 23-year-old Nathan Peterman and a 21-and-a-half-year-old Josh Allen, or 22-year-old Josh Allen, with no real mentor in there. And they then decided, for whatever reason, to start Peterman to be the guy to hold the place for Allen, and obviously that went down like the Hindenburg, and we ended up where we are now. So once McCarron struggled a bit in the preseason, I mean, even when you saw him against the Bears, he had trouble completing passes. He was throwing the guys that were being cut, so that could explain the majority of it. But I think that once they found he wasn't going to be the guy, they didn't see him as a mentor. Had he won the job, I think this whole thing would have turned out differently. But I don't think they trusted him at the end of the day.
I mean, because this was a team. I mean, correct me if I'm mistaken here, but wasn't there some hope coming into this season? You guys are coming off your first playoff appearance since Reagan was president, and
That's what it feels like.
You have this amazing draft day where you get your hands on your quarterback of the future. You get this amazing young raw linebacker that's going to be the center of your defense for the next 10, 15 years, and you still come away with a pretty decent set of draft assets, and you're adding to a team that made the playoffs last year, and yet it just seemed like it was going wrong even before the season got started with the A.J. McCarron thing and everything else. I mean, it's just like what exactly happened between the time that we talked and when the season got started? I mean, because we're talking barely 2 months, and when we talked and when the season got started, it seemed like everything changed for Buffalo.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember talking to you, and I thought that this was going to be a big step backward because of the quarterback situation, because I didn't view – I don't think McCarron is as good a player as Tyrod Taylor was for Buffalo. So once they moved on from him, I thought that they were going to take a step backwards just because on offense they didn't have that guy who could at least be trusted not to lose you the game. Taylor was never going to be a guy who was going to say, hey, I'm going to throw for 350, get on my back, we're going to go win this game. But he would be the guy who would keep you in it at least until there were 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then if a few things broke, that would be it. Because I remember talking to you and thinking and saying, hey, we might end up here. Buffalo could win 4 or 5 games, and I think 5 would be a lot. And guys were dogging me for that early on. But I think that looking at Buffalo as a playoff team last year, kind of snuck in, got a little bit lucky, played a bit above their heads. They had a real opportunistic defense. And then offensively, they were able to run the ball and not turn it over, which led to enough opportunity to go out and sneak out some wins. This year, you're seeing some just putrid quarterback play. I mean, I think that there have been more wide receiver touchdown passes in the NFL this year than Buffalo has quarterback touchdown passes on the year.
Yeah.
And I think there's been 4 wide receiver touchdown passes this year. So like wide receivers on reverses throwing touchdown passes, and the Bills have employed 3 quarterbacks who have combined for 3 touchdowns. So that's a recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah, I heard some crazy stat, whether it was either on Twitter or I heard it on SportsCenter or something, like Todd Gurley has scored more points by himself than Buffalo has scored all season. I was like, so is that a thumbs up to Gurley or a thumbs down to Buffalo? I mean, I don't know how I'm really supposed to be gauging that. I mean, are we talking about how pathetic Buffalo is on offense or how awesome Todd Gurley is? I mean, are we doing both?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to both questions is yes.
Are we weighing them both the same here? It's like, hey, look at here's one extreme to the next. This entire guy if he was on that team, would double the point total of this other team has scored all year by himself. So, I mean, that was just a crazy stat that I saw. It
feels a little, I'm sorry to cut you off, it feels a little like a trailer to a disaster movie. Like the over voice is sitting there, like in a world where other teams score points, one group thinks they can go it another way, and then you cue to, the Keystone Cops music plays and you watch Buffalo play offense at this point. That's pretty much how it's been at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's been interesting to watch, from the outside, and then when I really had a chance to sit down and look at it, I mean, the pattern that I'm noticing in the games thus far is that if you can win the first half, you'll win against the Bills.
Yeah, really, that makes sense. And if you look at their 2 wins, I mean, Minnesota game, Buffalo forced 3 turnovers. They picked Kirk Cousins, they strip sacked him, and they actually may have strip sacked him twice early in the first half, and that set up short fields, which gave them a couple of touchdowns. And then against Tennessee, they were able to score on their first drive. Josh Allen, just a great athletic play, scrambled, ran for a 10, 12-yard touchdown. And they were able to keep the Titans out of the end zone throughout, because that's a team that's not really an offensive juggernaut either.
Right.
All the other ones here, they got shut out at Green Bay. Indianapolis just eviscerated them when they went out there.
Yeah.
And it was just all early snowball type stuff, like the offense 3 and outs, punts, team scores a touchdown, then the offense 3 and outs again, they punt, defense looks defeated, all of a sudden game's over. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if you win the first half, there's very little in terms of adjustment, change, positive going on in the second half.
Yeah, because you guys are averaging just under 11 points a game in the first 8 games of the year. I mean, I don't give a damn how good your defense is playing. I mean, and they were the reason that you hung in against New England the way you guys did on Monday.
Absolutely.
I mean, they really had, they were really doing an outstanding job. I mean, even better than the Bears did against the Patriots a week ago. I mean, they scored 21 on us in the first half, that was before we started, screwing around on special teams against them and everything. So I mean, you guys were doing better against them than we had the week before, and then you gave up the one drive, and then it's 18-6, and based on the way the offense was playing, it might as well have been 180. To 6.
Yeah,
and then the one good drive that I saw you guys go on, Derek Anderson, I mean, the guy was open who he was throwing to. He just never saw that safety that came right across his face and took it back, and it was ball game after that.
Absolutely. No, and if you look at what's going on, if Buffalo had a mediocre offense, they would be 4-4
Sure.
right now. But they instead have a historically terrible offense. And that'll show you how good that the defense is, because they've managed to win 2 games, even though their offense is on pace. I think one of our guys, or I saw it, somebody ran a stat where the Bills' passing offense is on pace to be the worst in the franchise since 1967 or 68. And that's not even, I don't know how you manage to do that in an era where the defensive backs can't touch the receivers, the defensive linemen can't touch the quarterbacks.
Right.
The rules are set up so that this is impossible to happen. But basically, Buffalo is sitting here saying, we can't do that. Oh, hold my beer. Let me go ahead and show you how this is done.
It's like, offensive ineptitude. Step back for a second. Let me show you. Just give me a wide berth here. I got a thing or two to show you. I mean, it's pretty amazing. You say 1967. The Bills were born in 1960, so you're talking about almost the entire length of the franchise that they're
O.J. Simpson was still a sophomore at USC.
Wow.
The last time Buffalo's offense was this bad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you when you talk about stuff like that, I mean, there was one, I think maybe it was like during the Tampa Bay game when Trubisky went nuts against the Buccaneers for the 6 touchdowns and everything.
Yes.
The first time that somebody had thrown for 6 touchdowns since Sid Luckman did it in like 1947 or something. It's like, okay. So that's what kind of brought me back to the whole Todd Gurley versus the Bills thing.
Yeah.
It's like, so does that tell us how awesome Sid Luckman was, or how much garbage we put in at the quarterback position over the last 70 years? I mean, maybe it's both, I guess, that Trubisky comes out of nowhere his second year as a starter and does something that hasn't been done for 70 years. But
which, by the way, you're welcome for that, because I had Trubisky on my fantasy team.
Okay.
And I dropped him prior to that game to pick up exactly. So you're welcome. I'd have sat him on my bench and watched him because I had Drew Brees starting. But once I saw that happen, I went, yeah, I'm cursed.
So I mean, like I said, I mean, when your offense is averaging 11 points a game, it doesn't matter what your defense is doing, because they're probably out there for too long for it to matter. I mean, and that's pretty much what we saw happen on Monday, was that it's 12-6 going into the fourth quarter. If it was even that, I think maybe it was 9-6.
I think it was 9-6. Yeah, they
going into the fourth quarter. I mean, you guys are in it. It's Monday night. You guys are, the crowd is way into the game and everything, but the offense just cannot answer the call, and eventually the defense is going to fold. And then you throw gas on the fire by having the offense give up points on top of it. I mean, it sounds like you guys have at least a decent defense. And like you said, if you had a mediocre defense, you could be a 500 football team.
Yeah, no, that I would actually argue that the defense is very good. They're getting great production out of 2 rookies. You mentioned Tremaine Edmonds before. He's doing a really nice job in the middle. There have been a couple of times teams with play action have been able to manipulate him against the Chargers. He looked pretty rough. And then really against the Colts, just abused him throughout the entirety of the game. They moved him everywhere with read option looks and play action looks. But the other rookie that has really made some noise is the 4th-round pick there, Taron Johnson, the slot corner, has been good in his role. So there's been a couple of guys there that have sung in. Tre'Davious White is having another great year. Both of their safeties, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poole, are outstanding. But the old guys, too. Lorenzo Alexander is putting a ton of pressure on quarterbacks. Kyle Williams does not look like a 35-year-old on a team that's cruising towards a 4-12 season. He's going 110 miles an hour at all points. And Jerry Hughes looks good, too. So that the defense is a scary, scary unit on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, kind of sounding like the 2017 Bears. I mean, we had a really good defensive unit last year. We just had an offense that did very, very little to contribute, and it's like the defense would be way in it, 3 quarters, maybe 3.5, and then eventually it would be like, well, the defense has been out there for 78 plays, so it's not too crazy to think that they would finally give up that play that's going to make a difference in the game because, the defense has been out there for, like I said, 78 and some 80 plays, and the offense has been out there for 34. And, it's like we're just handing the ball right back over to them, and it's just been it was very, very tough to watch. So I feel your pain as far as what you're going through in this similar situation, and what do you think it's gonna take to fix this? I mean, is this just the bump in the road on the path to the Bills returning to prominence, or what do you think the fix to this would be?
They need an entire talent infusion on the offense. I mean, I could argue that they need 2 receivers, a tight end, 2 offensive linemen, and that's before talking about, LaShawn McCoy is 30. He's struggling big time. I think he only has 250 yards rushing on the entire year. Mm-hmm. That's before talking about inevitably him. So you're looking at most of, if not all of their assets going into next season are going to have to be poured into the offensive end. And luckily for Buffalo, between 85 and $100 million in free salary cap money between dead cap that comes off guys whose contracts expire and they go at the end of this year. And they have a couple extra draft picks due to some trades. So they're going to have some room to wiggle here and add some impact players. But it's going to happen this year at this point. I mean, they did sign Terrell Pryor to play wide receiver. I mean, he's coming off a groin injury with the Jets. But he instantaneously, throw a top 3 there of Kelvin Benjamin, Pryor, and Zay Jones. That looks a little bit better than what they've been doing. So that should be a step in the right direction. And then you got to hope that if he plays well and he likes it up there, that they stick with him. Sure. And they can go ahead and add some more talent, because you can't expect a kid like Josh Allen to be throwing to nothing. I mean, similar, I feel like, to what the Bears did when they went out and they got Allen Robinson, and now they have those 2 dynamite backs in Howard and Cohen. That Trubisky has some weapons to go ahead there. Is Taylor Gabriel new this to the Bears roster, or was he there last year?
He is. It was Gabriel, Trey Burton, and Allen Robinson were the big 3 that
Burton
the Bears
too
signed.
is another big. Yeah.
So
you got to help your young guy out there.
Yeah, and that was the main reason I didn't want Trubisky on the field at all last year, because we had this menagerie of rejects and 4th and 5th receivers out there that we're trying to throw the football to. So it's no wonder that defenses would play short yardage defense against us, because the only weapons we had were in the backfield. And that's all it would be. It would be Jordan Howard running into a brick wall of humanity, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, and then we'd punt on 4th down, or maybe we'd try to throw the ball on 3rd, but it would be pathetic and sad, and we end up punting anyway. So that's what it was like watching our offense last year, and it was like, I don't want Trubisky anywhere near this. We might ruin the kid.
Yep, and that's what it's been like watching the Buffalo offense. And there's been, some people think that you'll learn by going out there and getting beaten up, but you don't want to ruin the kid. So watching the Bears has actually given me hope for next year.
Sure.
If Buffalo's management can intelligently build as the Bears management has. I also think they hired the right guy in Nagy. He seems really good.
Yeah, I had a feeling about the guy when I saw his press conference, because truth be told, man, when I heard Matt Nagy was our guy, I was not happy.
Really?
No, not right off the bat. I was not. It was because it was like there was a list of about 6 or 7 guys, and of the candidates, he was at the bottom. And it's like, okay, he's first year offensive coordinator for Kansas City's with Andy Reid. Okay, that's fine. But how about Pat Shurmur, who just took the polished turd that was Sam Bradford and Case Keenum and damn near took him to a Super Bowl with Minnesota? Right. What do you think he could do with someone who has actual talent in Trubisky? Shurmur was my guy, and it just didn't happen. We were the first team to hire a coach in Nagy. I was not happy about that. Then I saw his press conference. I'm like, oh, okay. he seems to be a bit more forthcoming, a hell of a lot more transparent than Fox was before him with the media. He treated the media like the enemy than anything else. Yeah. And then actually this past week they mic'd him in that game against the Jets, and the Bears.com had a video of him, like a 4.5-minute video of him talking on the sidelines and how he was talking to Mitch between drives and stuff like that. And that's where it really got a sense of he's definitely the right guy for this. He definitely is.
Yeah.
You know, I've been warming up to him ever since then, but I'm, you know, where I was somewhere in the upper 80s, low 90s coming into this point after watching that video. I'm 100% all in on Nagy now. I'm sold 100% with him. Do you think McDermott is that guy, or are you going to have to go fishing for somebody else after this year? I mean, you told me, and I remember now that you were telling me about the salary cap space and you talking about, this is probably more of a 2019 team because of getting rid. We lead the league in dead cap space. We're still paying guys that haven't been on the team for 3 years or something. Like, you're still paying Marcel Darius. He hasn't been on the team since like 2013 or something like that. And, you know, we're going to have a ton of cap space and a lot of young assets on the football team. So 2019 seems to be the year they make a move. I remember the conversation now. It's all coming back to me. Is McDermott going to be that guy, or is he going to survive what's happening this year?
It's funny because if you would have asked me over the summer, I'd have said, "Oh yeah, absolutely the guy." I mean, look at what he did, and the way that I see him handle situations with the team. I mean, I think he's definitely the guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much I trust him to build the roster, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because I think that the way that he leads, it would be very easy for the defensive guys to just quit and be done and say, you know what, screw this. Our offense is pathetic. I'm just not going to get myself hurt. Let's fold up our tents and get to next year where I can go ahead and make some money somewhere else and go play where I can win. But these guys come out week in and week out, and they're motivated and they're fighting and they're fiery. I just watch how they have bungled the most important position on the field, the quarterback position. And that's where I start to pause, where I was 100% coming into this year. And now I've probably dipped down into the mid to low 80s. He'll survive this year.
Sure.
He'll without a doubt be the coach next year. I mean, he brought them their first playoff berth since the Clinton administration, not quite Reagan going back that far. But I was nervous that there was a joke that 2 Clintons were going to have been president in between Bill's off berths. So neither of those things happened.
Right.
So we end up sitting in a situation where Buffalo, I mean, I was in middle school the last time they made the playoffs, and I've taught high school now 9-10 years before they end up making another playoff appearance. It's ridiculous. But I definitely think that he is the guy. I just think they need to show me a little bit to kind of get me back in that boat, all in, no life jacket. That now I'm holding on to a life preserver at this point.
Sure. Any idea what the weather's supposed to be like this weekend in Buffalo? Because I'm kind of thinking because the weather contributed to the Bears not letting Mack and Robinson play on Sunday against the Jets. Because it's Buffalo, for Christ's sake. It could be 9 feet of snow on the ground in late October,
right? Or
early November is what it's going to be Sundays.
I haven't looked. I mean, I'm about 5 hours out of Buffalo, down and around.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit rainy. Now,
rainy.
Up there, it's its own different climate. I mean, it could be if it's 40 degrees, then it might be rain. If it's 25 degrees, then you're looking at snow. I don't want to be a terrible factor. I think that Khalil Mack is going to end up feasting on the carcass of Nathan Peterman at some point throughout the game, which is really giving us all some amount of hope over at Buffalo Rumblings.
Yeah, I mean, just my own glass half empty kind of attitude when it comes to the Bears. It's like, Jesus Christ, this thing is setting up for it to be an absolute bloodbath on Sunday. Our defense hasn't had that dominant performance since before the bye. We finally won a football game, right. But Miami, New England, defensively were not good games for us. We bounced back. We only gave up 10 points against the Jets on Sunday. We only got 1 sack. We didn't get a turnover, but we were a hell of a lot more stingy than we had been in a couple of weeks. It's setting up to where it can turn into an absolute disaster for Buffalo when the Bears come to town on Sunday. But I'm also kind of hoping that we don't get caught with our pants down looking ahead to the 3 division games we have after this, because
that could be easy for them to do because Buffalo has been so bad. And looking that it's Peterman coming out because Derek Anderson is in concussion protocol. So if you're a defensive player and you see that Nathan Peterman is the quarterback on the other side, I mean, my man has thrown 9 interceptions in 80 pass attempts professionally. I'm not a math guy, but that's a ridiculous percentage.
That's 1 out of 9, bro. 1 out of 9 is an interception for Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, 11%. I can do that one. So that's not good.
Yeah. So I mean, and that was exactly what I was thinking when I saw that Peterman is most likely to start on Sunday. I was like, oh hell, this could be something to see on Sunday.
And not only did
go ahead,
they signed Matt Barkley today, too, to be his backup. So you now have of the most intercepted quarterbacks who are still active, who have started multiple games. Buffalo has, I think, 4 of the top 14. And it's 5 if you count Terrell Pryor, who's playing wide receiver. Peterman is 1, Barkley is 2. I think Pryor is 10. Derek Anderson is 11, and Allen is 14. So it's shaping up to just be, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was looking at. I was like, I hope that the Bears stay focused on Sunday, because not only do we have 3 division games coming up, we've got 3 division games in 11 days, because we got Detroit and then Minnesota and then Thanksgiving Day against Detroit again. So from November 11th to November 22nd, we play 3 times against 3 division opponents, and that we have to get, and that's after we play Buffalo. So I mean, I just hope we don't get, maybe we take it down a gear so that we save ourselves for the division games, and what the hell happened? We just lost in Buffalo, kind of thing. Would be the last thing in the world this team would need heading into such an important stretch. So I mean, with everything that we've been talking about, everything that I've seen, if the Bears keep their heads on straight and just show up, and not necessarily like showing up by like just stepping onto the field, which some cynics would say that's probably all it's going to take, but to actually just show up and be the team that they have been, especially last week against the Jets. Victory, could be a foregone conclusion. It's just a matter of getting out healthy to get ready for these division games. Yeah,
really. I mean, in order for Buffalo to win anything, they have to force turnovers.
Yes.
Give their offense a short field. And they have to make 1 or 2 plays on special teams in order to help the offense out. I've been dogging Peterman a lot, but if his first read is there, he's actually pretty good. The thing for a defense is that he's easy to trick, and he doesn't have the arm strength to compensate for it. So if the Bears can go in and make Peterman think that he has, think that he has a soft coverage so he can throw a 5-yard hitch, when really they're coming and going to stick the receivers hard, then he's going to be in for a really, really rough day on that. Now, if Chicago can avoid turnovers and go ahead and make Peterman throw the ball, then they probably win by 20 points.
How does he handle the blitz?
Not very well, because all he does is wherever his first read is, he's throwing it there.
Wow.
And it's in a lot of ways.
Is he staring him down?
He's very. No, he's the guy who will just go straight back, and when his foot hits, if it's a 3-step drop, his foot hits and the ball is coming out. Whether that guy's open or not, he's throwing it. And if it's a 5-step drop, once his foot hits, he's throwing it, whether a guy's open or not. There's not a lot of, let me go through my progressions here. Like, my man is just firing it exactly where it's supposed to go, quote unquote.
Like a robot or something, right? He's just doing what he's programmed to do.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, like I was all set to write a mea culpa after, because I wanted to, and our editor, Matt Warren, stopped me from writing the piece, because I wanted to write an opinion piece saying that Peterman didn't belong on the roster at all. But Matt was like, come on, man, no, let's temper that a little bit. Maybe like he shouldn't start, but he doesn't belong on an NFL roster. I'm like, nah, man, that guy should be bagging groceries. So when Peterman comes out and throws a touchdown pass to Zay Jones on a beautiful fade to go up in the fourth quarter, and my father is ripping me apart. He's like, you see, this kid can play. And in my head, I'm going, shoot, maybe I've been too hard on him. Maybe I'll write a piece that kind of goes, Peterman's got some potential here. He's shown some growth. And then, of course, he went ahead and fired a ball into double coverage when Kelvin Benjamin wasn't even looking at it yet. That was intercepted and returned for a touchdown. And, he became himself at the end of the game. So I was all ready to do it, but he is. I think a robot is very apt to describe what he does, because there's potential there. Like if you can design plays for Reed is gonna be there. Double screens, back shoulder fades when there's one-on-one coverage. He can survive. Ask him to throw into tight coverage. If you're asking him to throw from the right hash to the left side of the field, he can't do it. He just cannot do it.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday. I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to it on Sunday. And to tell you the truth, man, I'm looking forward to the future because I think that we're kind of in this renaissance of young quarterbacks, and I believe Josh Allen can be a part of that. With Allen, Trubisky, Carson Wentz, even Marcus Mariota and Jared Goff and things like that. And I think that's why there's kind of been this groundswell of audiences coming back to the NFL, because it's not the same old guys doing the same old stuff anymore. Yeah, Brady and Breeze and Rodgers and Roethlisberger are still out there doing their thing, but you got a bunch of these young guys, Mahomes, I forgot to mention him, who are just kind of lighting up the league and infusing the league with this new blood, especially on the AFC side, which is that the conference needs it more than anything right now. They Brady and Roethlisberger and those guys need to go, man, so that we can have some new teams in the Super Bowl. Like, I am cheering for the Chiefs hardcore right now. Yeah. I want the Chiefs in the Super Bowl bad this year, just so New England won't be there and we won't have to listen to the greatness of Tom Brady for 2 weeks.
I've been cheering for Brady. I've been cheering for Brady to go for the last 16 years or so.
Sure,
I can't wait. I can't wait until he goes.
Yeah.
So, looking at that, Deshaun Watson is another guy, too.
Yeah, sure,
Watson.
Sure.
Oh, my goodness. You're right. Because then you've got you have the promise of Darnold. You have the promise of Baker Mayfield. You have
those guys, too.
Promise of Josh Rosen. You've got all these kids who are coming out and who are really looking. The changing of the guard is coming. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting.
It is. And the other part that I was going to mention is that, when I was coming up and when I really got into the NFL was in that sweet spot of like 7th grade to about 10th grade, and who was the team in the AFC all 4 of those years, but the Buffalo Bills going to the Super Bowl and kind of making that side of things boring. It's like, Jesus, the Bills are going to do it again, but nonetheless. Right. The K-Gun and, Kelly, Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Marv Levy and all those guys just being the best that the AFC had to offer all of those years. Kind of also how I'm kind of rooting for the Browns to snap out of it, because they were one of the better teams in the NFL during that time period and everything else. So I'm kind of just wishing for these teams that have been at the bottom of the barrel for so long, but were good when I was coming up and first really getting in to the league, the Raiders as well, finally seeing those teams kind of come back and reclaim the spots that they used to have when I probably had my deepest love for the game as a kid. And, I'm kind of hoping that things turn around for Buffalo, because the AFC East is probably the most boring division in football right now. Oh, gosh, yeah, it's just been awful. I mean, it's been Tom Brady and then everybody else. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice if something could finally change in there. Sure. Well, like I said, I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday, hoping that the Bears can get the job done, and hoping that everything goes better for Buffalo aside from this Sunday, of course. But if ever there was a team, if ever there was a team that needed a bye, you guys got to wait another couple of weeks to get yours. But if ever there was a team that needed a break, it's the Buffalo Bills.
Yes. Yeah, no, if Josh Allen could just come back afterward, I mean, even though he's not ready, but man, oh man, it would at least it gives the season some sort of hope. I mean, rather than watching, Derek Anderson come back from his golf tournament that he was playing in, whatever he was doing, or chasing his kids around in the living room to go ahead and strap the pads on. And by the way, I say that jokingly, but he's the consummate professional. I mean, he didn't have to do any of that stuff, and he's getting his rear end beat behind that offensive line, and he was getting up as often as he could. But I would just much rather be able to look at Allen and say, hey, man, at least we're giving this kid some stuff to build on for the future, rather than watching a guy like Anderson who's 35 and he's past the back nine. He's really done. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a guy like Peterman who I just don't see turning into anything.
Yeah. So, well, again, I'm hoping for the best for Buffalo, especially in the future. Like I said a moment ago, the AFC could use the change and this young renaissance of quarterbacks. I hope Josh Allen is a part of that. So, Sean, where can we catch up on your writing? Do you do any podcasts for Buffalo Rumblings or anything like that?
I was a pinch hitter this week, actually. On our podcast at Buffalo Rumblings is called Believe, a Buffalo Bills podcast. John Boccacino and Anthony Marino usually do it. Anthony was unable to, so John was courteous enough to get me in there. But I am a boring Twitter follow, as most of my Twitter stuff is geared towards the varsity softball team that I coach. So,
all right. Well, Sean Murphy, thanks so much for coming back onto the show, and good luck on Sunday. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, man, sounds great. Thanks a lot.
Once again, want to thank Sean Murphy from Buffalo Rumblings and SB Nation for coming back onto the show to talk about the Bills, even though if the Bears were 2-6, I don't know how willing I'd be to talk about them in public, that is anyway. But I think it's very simple, guys. So this will probably be quick because you heard me mention in the interview with Sean that it's simple, for the Bears, and it's not as arrogant as this is probably going to sound, but as long as we show up on Sunday, the Bears are going to win this game. Knock on wood. I mean, nobody thought that they would go on the road and dismantle the Vikings the way that the Bills did, so anything is possible. This is the NFL, and I can't remember the last time I saw the Bears win in Buffalo. I mean, hell, they haven't even been to Buffalo since, 2010? Whatever it is. I mean, it's been a long time. Nonetheless, it's a game that couldn't be setting up any more perfectly for us. I mean, granted, we'll probably have to battle with their defense in the early goings, but if we can make some things happen on defense, on our defensive side, get after Peterman, force him into those mistakes he seems so prone to make, give our offense the short field, let us build an early 17-0 lead in the second quarter, we can pretty much coast throughout and then get ready for those division games. Now, I say this with full knowledge that we cannot be looking ahead to those games or else the Bills are going to hurt us and hurt us bad. Not only can we lose the game, fall out of first place again, it would be an embarrassment, but, it would kill any kind of momentum that we would want to have going into those all-important games starting next Sunday against the Lions. So, it is important, and when I say show up, I mean show up, be focused, do your job, play the game on Sunday. Don't look past the Bills is what I'm saying by showing up on Sunday. So it's not like merely step on the field and victory is yours. That is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is show up, do your job on Sunday, and you will win the game because you are the superior football team. So it's all about, you heard me talk about it with Sean. Bottle up that run with McCoy and Chris Ivory. Force the ball into Peterman's hands. That is what we want. We want Peterman trying to throw the football against us on Sunday. We want Barkley trying to throw the ball against us on Sunday. That is going to be exactly what the Bears want. We want to challenge them to throw the ball on Sunday. They don't really have anyone to throw the football to, And the guy throwing the ball is the last person on earth most people would want to have their have them quarterbacking their team. So this is setting up perfectly for the Bears to have a Tampa Bay-like victory on Sunday, and to do it on the road before heading into these divisional stretch. Very, very important to close out the second quarter with a 500 record. To be 2-2 after this 4-game stretch with the East, I think would also be a good sign that this team is headed in the right direction. To be 5-3 at the halfway mark, to match last year's win total at the halfway point is huge, absolutely huge. So as long as the Bears show up on Sunday, and I mean that by showing up ready to play and doing your job, I think it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, honestly, I hate to talk in these terms when talking about the Bears, but really that's the situation, guys. That is what we are walking into here. This is setting up perfect for us. The defense is, had their bounce back game last week against the Jets, and now this is the game where we reclaim the defense that we knew and loved from the first 4 weeks of the year. Getting after the quarterback, forcing turnovers, making life hell for the opposing quarterback, and we have to take advantage of it here. We have to, kick a dying dog, or whatever the hell the phrase is. We have to kick this team while it's down. We really do. There's nothing like last week when I was talking about the Jets being the wounded animal, and you want to be careful about the wounded animal. And it's like, no, this team is down. We need to kick them while they're down so that they stay down. We don't want to give them any kind of hope in the football game. We've seen that go against the Bears so many times, where they were the better team coming in on Sunday, and then they did one thing wrong, and the next thing you know, this team all of a sudden thinks they have a chance, and they play the rest of the game thinking that they can win, and it's a tougher victory than it should be, or they lose. The Bears end up losing this game to this team that all of a sudden believes in itself. We want to go out there and do something in the early going, smash this offense to bits, put our offense on the field, and put it in the end zone early, knock the wind out of their sails, take that crowd out of the game, because they were bananas against the Patriots on Monday. They were deep into the game until the fourth quarter, when the Patriots finally took over that victory. Knock them out early, knock the Bills down early, and then work your way through the game, get everybody else out, get everybody out of the game healthy, get ready for the Lions, Vikings, and Lions coming up. This is going to be the most interesting stretch of the season once we get past this one, and we need to get ready for it. So, and the best way to get ready for that game is a victory in this one. So go out there, be serious, show up, do your job, and the Bears will win on Sunday. So, like I said, going to keep it short, but that's the situation. So we will be back on Monday to talk about what should be another victory episode for our beloved Chicago Bears for the Week 9 review episode. So come on back for that. And until then, my name is Larry D, and this has been the Bears Talk Underground.